Nature built a tank. Science found a genius. The paradox is undeniable. You have seen the viral videos of honey badgers fighting off lions and shrugging off deadly cobra venom. But while the world focused on their thick skin and sharp claws, researchers discovered something far more dangerous. They found a level of cognitive reasoning that simply should not exist in a creature this size. And I have the receipts to prove it right now. Let me show you the evidence that changes everything. Welcome to WildLeadTube, where we verify animal intelligence through the lens of breakthrough science. Today, we are deconstructing the myth of the mindless brawler to reveal a master strategist that baffles the world's leading researchers. Here is the truth about the honey badger that your favorite nature documentaries usually skip over. It is not just about the aggression or the fearlessness. It is about a specific type of logic called tool use. For decades, we believed only primates and a few bird species could manipulate their environment to solve problems. But the data from the Moholoholo Wildlife Rehabilitation Center in South Africa has officially shattered that outdated scientific consensus. Let me show you exactly how this works by introducing you to a badger named Stoffel. Stoffel was not just a resident at the center. He became the primary subject of an accidental decade-long intelligence study. But here is where it gets interesting for your understanding of biology. Stoffel did not just want to be free. He wanted to outsmart his captors. Every time the researchers built a better wall, Stoffel built a better plan. You might think he used his powerful claws to dig his way out, which is the standard behavior for most burrowing mammals. But Stoffel realized that digging was too slow and predictable for the scientists to miss. Instead, he began to analyze the physical properties of his enclosure like an engineer. This is not a story about instinct. This is the first piece of evidence showing high-level spatial reasoning in a mustelid. Here is the first piece of evidence from the Moholoholo files that shocked the staff. One morning, Brian Jones, the center's founder, found Stoffel wandering outside his high-security enclosure, despite the gates being locked tight. There were no holes in the ground and no damage to the wire mesh. You would assume someone left the door open, but the security footage revealed a much more calculated and chilling reality for the researchers. Stoffel had identified a weak point in the latch mechanism that required a multi-step physical process to disengage. He did not just hit it until it broke. He manipulated it with precision and intent. Sound familiar? It should, because this is the same type of problem-solving we see in human toddlers. But here is the catch that scientists are still trying to explain to the public today. The official story is that animals react to their environment through trial and error. The real story is that honey badgers, like Stoffel, use mental modeling to predict outcomes before they even move a muscle. Stay with me because the next part changes everything you thought you knew about animal brains. Brian Jones decided to move Stoffel to a specialized pit with smooth, high concrete walls to prevent any further escapes. He believed that without a latch to fiddle with or a fence to climb, the badger would finally be contained. But he underestimated the logical depth of his opponent. Stoffel was just getting started with his logic. Within hours, Stoffel began gathering rocks from around his enclosure. He did not just move them randomly. He began to stack them in a corner, creating a makeshift staircase to reach the top of the wall. Let me show you the pattern here. This is not just moving objects. This is the construction of a tool to overcome a physical barrier. It requires an understanding of gravity, balance, and height that is incredibly rare. When the researchers removed the rocks, Stoffel did not give up. He waited until it rained and then rolled heavy balls of mud into the same corner, letting them dry into a solid, climbable mound for his escape. Now here is where most people get this wrong. They think the badger is just being stubborn. But the math says this is a calculated expenditure of energy for a guaranteed reward. This is pure cognitive efficiency. Think about your own life for a second. How often do you look at a problem and immediately see a three-step solution using only the random objects around you? That is exactly what Stoffel was doing every day. The researchers were spending thousands of dollars on security, while the badger was using zero-cost materials to bypass them. This is not a flaw in the wall. This is a feature of the badger's mind. But here is the critical part of the Moholoholo study. To prove this was not just a fluke, Brian Jones began introducing complex puzzles into Stoffel's environment to see if his logic had any measurable limits. They placed his food inside a locked box that required a rake to reach. Most animals would scratch at the box until they gave up. But Stoffel immediately looked for the rake and used it correctly. Here is what nobody else will tell you about this behavior. Tool use in the wild is often passed down through social learning. But Stoffel was figuring these complex steps out entirely on his own through deduction. This validates your suspicion that we have been drastically underestimating non-primate intelligence for centuries. The data reveals that the honey badger's brain is wired for high-speed tactical analysis and environmental manipulation. Let me show you the hidden mechanism behind this genius. It is called behavioral flexibility. While most animals are trapped by their instincts, the honey badger can pivot its strategy when the first attempt fails. If the rocks are gone, use the mud. If the mud is gone, use the rake. If the rake is gone, use the researcher's forgotten broom. Stoffel actually did that, proving he could identify any object as a tool. By the time most people realize how smart these animals are, the badger has already moved on to the next puzzle. This is the cost of not knowing the true nature of the predators in our ecosystem. But here is the question nobody asks. Why did evolution give a creature that is already nearly invulnerable such a high level of intelligence? Usually, you only get one or the other in the natural world. The official story is that they need the brains to find hidden prey. The real story is that their intelligence is their primary survival mechanism in an environment filled with much larger and stronger apex predators. This is not prophecy. This is mathematics. In the African savanna, if you are small and slow, you must be smarter than everyone else to survive. The honey badger is the ultimate proof of this rule. Now, let me show you the pattern of their escapology. It always follows three distinct stages. First, observation of the barrier. Second, identification of a potential tool. Third, execution of a multi-step plan. I have linked the research sources in the description so you can see the documented cases for yourself. You will find that Stoffel's behavior is not an isolated incident, but a species-wide cognitive trait. Stay with me, because the next part changes everything about how we view conservation. If an animal can outsmart a concrete pit, how can we ever expect to manage them in the wild using traditional methods? The truth is that honey badgers are currently causing massive economic damage to farmers because they can bypass almost any traditional fence or lock. Your standard security measures are essentially toys to them. Here is the twist that researchers found in the latest cognition tests. Honey badgers show a level of persistence that actually increases when a task becomes more difficult. Their dopamine system is literally wired for problem solving. This is not a bug in their biology. This is the design. They are evolved to be the ultimate lockpickers of the natural world. Every obstacle is just a prompt for their brain to find a new solution. Now you see the full picture of why scientists are struggling to keep them contained. It is a constant arms race between human engineering and millions of years of evolutionary logic. And the badger is winning. Let me show you who loses in this scenario. It is the researchers who rely on old assumptions. They call it instinct, but it is really logic. They call it luck, but it is really planning. Same pattern, same stages, same result. Whether it is a rock pile or a complex latch, the honey badger identifies the mechanism and exploits it. This is the definition of high-level intelligence in action. But here is where it gets interesting for the future of science. We are now using honey badger logic to help design better AI and robotics. Their ability to use unstructured tools is a holy grail for engineers. What you are losing right now by ignoring this research is a deeper understanding of how intelligence evolves. It does not always need a massive brain or a social structure. Sometimes it just needs a problem. Here is the first piece of evidence from the comparative studies. When tested against raccoons, which are famous for their dexterity, honey badgers solved spatial puzzles 30% faster using fewer unnecessary movements. That is not a typo. A creature known for its rage is actually more efficient and calm during a logic test than one of the most famously clever animals in North America. The data is clear. You are part of this discovery because every time you share this knowledge, you help shift the scientific perspective away from human-centric intelligence. We are not the only ones who can think 3 steps ahead. But here is the catch that should concern you. As we encroach further into their territory, these animals are adapting to our technology faster than we can adapt to their behavior. They are learning our systems. What makes this dangerous today is the modern application of their intelligence in urban environments. Right now, the same mechanisms Stoffel used are being applied to trash cans, sheds, and even home security systems. You might think your backyard is secure, but a honey badger sees your patio furniture as a series of ladders and your door handles as simple levers. They are watching and they are learning. Let me show you the pattern of their urban adaptation. They are not just looking for food. They are mapping the layout of human structures. This is spatial memory combined with logical application in real. I have linked the source for the urban badger study in the description. You will see that their success rate in bypassing human-made barriers is nearly 90% across all documented cases in suburban Africa. This is not theory. This is documented behavior. While you are sleeping, these animals are conducting their own research on your property. They are the ultimate insiders of the animal kingdom, hiding in plain sight. But here is the worst part for the farmers. Traditional traps don't work because the badgers recognize the mechanism. They will actually use sticks to trigger the trap safely before eating the bait inside. Think about that. This is not a flaw in the trap. This is the feature of a mind that understands cause and effect. They see the trap not as a threat, but as a puzzle with a food reward at the end. Anyone with a calculator can see the economic impact of this intelligence. Millions are lost every year to a creature that simply refuses to be outsmarted by human technology. The math of their success is undeniable. Now, let me show you the most shocking part of the Moholoholo research. Stoffel eventually learned how to work with a partner. He would use another badger as a physical platform to reach even higher obstacles. This is social tool use. It requires communication, cooperation, and a shared understanding of a goal. This is a level of social complexity that was previously thought to be exclusive to higher primates and dolphins. You knew something was wrong with the old mindless beast narrative. This validates your suspicion that there is a deep, calculating consciousness behind those dark, beady eyes. They are thinking, planning, and executing every second. But here is the question nobody asks. If they are this smart, what else are they capable of that we haven't seen yet? We are only just beginning to scratch the surface of their cognitive potential. The official story is that we are the masters of the planet because of our tools. The real story is that we have competition. The honey badger is a reminder that intelligence is a universal survival strategy. Let me show you the mechanism they don't want you to see. It is the ability to fail and learn instantly. Most animals repeat a mistake until they die. A honey badger only makes a mistake once, 3 times, 3 enclosures, 3 escapes. Stoffel proved that no matter the material, the logic remains the same. He turned his prison into a laboratory for his own cognitive development and won every time. Stay with me, because the next part is the most important for your perspective on nature. We are currently seeing a shift in how biologists define genius in the wild. It is no longer just about brain-to-body ratio. It is about the ability to solve a novel problem in a single attempt. This is called insight learning, and the honey badger is the poster child for this breakthrough in animal psychology research. Here is what nobody else will tell you. The reason we didn't find this sooner is because we were looking for human-like intelligence. We ignored the badger because its intelligence looks like aggression to the untrained eye. But when you strip away the growling and the biting, you find a mind that is as sharp as any chimpanzee. This is not a bug in our research. This is the design of our own biases. Now you see why this matters today. We are at a crossroads in how we interact with the natural world. We can either continue to fight their logic with brute force, or we can learn from it. Right now, the same patterns of escapology are being studied to help us build better containment for hazardous materials. If a badger can't get out, maybe we've finally built something truly secure for our own safety. But here is the twist. Every time we think we've reached the limit of their logic, they show us a new trick. They are the ultimate outliers in every statistical model of animal cognition ever created. The truth is that the honey badger doesn't care about your scientific models. It only cares about the next latch, the next wall, and the next escape. It is a creature of pure, relentless reason. Let me show you the pattern of their future. As they continue to live alongside us, their intelligence will only sharpen. They are the only species that seems to be getting smarter because of human intervention. Same playbook, different players. Whether it is a scientist in a lab or a farmer in a field, the honey badger is always the one holding the cards. They are the masters of their own destiny. This isn't prophecy, this is mathematics. If you have the tools, the logic, and the will to use them, you will always find a way out. The honey badger is the living embodiment of that truth. Before I give you the 3 takeaways, I want you to ask yourself a question. How many other mindless animals are actually outsmarting us right now while we aren't paying attention to the data? The cost of our arrogance is the loss of incredible scientific insights. We spend billions looking for intelligence in space, while it is literally digging through our trash cans with a calculated plan for escape. Here is the real story of the honey badger. It is not the most fearless animal in the world because it is brave. It is the most fearless because it knows exactly how to win every fight. You are part of this new era of understanding. By looking at the evidence from Moholoholo, you are seeing the world as it actually is, not as the old textbooks told you it was. Knowledge is power. Now you understand why we can't keep them locked up. It is not a physical problem. It is a cognitive one. You cannot cage a mind that is constantly rebuilding the key to its own lock. Stay with me for the final conclusion, because the implications for your own life are profound. If a honey badger can solve these problems with so little, what is stopping you from solving yours? So what should you take from this? First, understand that intelligence is not a human monopoly. It is a widespread biological tool that appears in the most unexpected places across the entire animal kingdom. Second, realize that persistence, combined with logic, is an unstoppable force. The honey badger doesn't just try harder, it tries smarter. It analyzes the failure and pivots to a new strategy immediately.